it's Nay, and welcome to Hey Nay. I just want to say a special happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I know this is Mother's Day weekend, so I just want to acknowledge that fact. And actually, because it's Mother's Day's weekend, I have decided to make the topic for today mothers and dating. And the Hey Nay writers gave me quite a bit of questions to answer. So let's see what we have here. I'm just going to jump right into it. So, have you ever dated someone overly attached to their mother? I haven't personally, can't really recall that situation, but I do want to say there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. A lot of people are close with their mothers because of certain reasons. Sometimes it's because of a certain situation that has occurred between them. So now they feel very closely, like a, what is it, knit, closely knit? I don't know what the, closely tied with them. So that can explain things like that. There's nothing necessarily wrong. It's only if it starts to affect your relationship. I would say that you shouldn't raise concern, but I don't think there's nothing really wrong with having someone overly attached to their mother. You know what I mean? As long as they're not like roommates with their mother and they're like 52. You know what I mean? Like that's where we're pushing it. When we go to extremes, if you have to question, then maybe. How do you feel about someone who disrespects their mother? This Handy writer actually said that they've had a situation in which they've dealt with someone who was in that, or they dated someone who disrespected their mother, and they cut things off with them. And I think that was the absolutely right thing to do. I agree. You should not disrespect your mother. I think that's absurd. Especially if it's like repeatedly, you know what I mean? Like, there are occasions in which I see people may have say something to their mother in a disrespectful manner, and it was just because they were very upset and it was in that moment, things like that. They didn't necessarily mean it, probably apologize later and everything like that. And it was a heated discussion. That is normal. We all kind of make mistakes like that. But if it's like repeatedly disrespecting and like completely disregarding and have no show of love or respect in that way for their parent like that, I would definitely cut it off, because that's not a person that you want to be with. You know what I mean? And if any of you who do that, I think you should re-examine yourself. I think you should really think about why you would do to something like that to your mother. You know what I mean? Because I think that's taking it too far. The next question is, do you try to become friends with your mom? Okay, this is a great question. I don't want to say like try to become friends with your mom, but if the mom really likes you, and you know what I mean, like she really likes you and she asks about you a lot, to your girlfriend, or your significant other, I should say, um, then yeah, you can sort of form that relationship with them. You know what I mean? Always ask about how they're doing. Get to know, see what similar interests. That's what I always do. See what the two of you have in common and talk about that a lot more. Um, I don't know if I would use the term friends though. I don't know if I would say that you should be friends with the mother. I think that you should be familiar a little bit more than acquaintances. You know what I mean? Like you should be, um, I don't know. There should be a relationship there, but I don't know if I would say friends. I don't know if I would say that, because that can kind of um, cross a line for your partner, because your partner may not necessarily want the two of you to be that close like that, especially early on. You know what I mean? This is definitely different if we're talking about mother-in-law, because then having a close relationship with them is very important, and most often than not, very important to your significant other. But when it's early on, it can be a little strange. It can be a little strange. Um, what if their mother doesn't like you? This is a huge thing. That's very common. I think it's actually a stereotype that a lot of moms don't like the guys their daughters date. And, um, I think, and I think that, I think you can't let that affect you. I really don't. I would try to ask your significant other as to why the mother doesn't like you, and try to understand like what that's about, because maybe you did do something wrong. You know what I mean? Maybe you need to, acknowledge something that you did wrong. I know, like, sometimes if you don't show like good manners when you first come in and when you first meet them, that ticks them off from the jump. So like if you can be like, I just want to apologize for what happened before. I didn't even realize that I didn't even greet you guys when I came in, or I didn't, I didn't offer to help clean up things after dinner or something like that. So, things like that. I feel like as long as you're upfront with them, they usually tend to like you or tend to be okay with you. You know what I mean? No one's necessarily going to love you when they first meet you, but you just want to be respectful. I think if you're being respectful and you're treating their child right, then you have really nothing to worry about. Do you try to get her to like you? Like I said, or I don't think like I don't know if it depends. If it's very important to your partner that their mother likes you, then I say try to make efforts to establish that. Like I said, acknowledging things, finding similar interests, trying to do that. If you've done something wrong, say that you apologize for doing that, and try to move forward. Yeah, I think that's good enough. At what point do you give up? If the mother becomes sort of like unreasonable, and I'm not saying this is not out of the realm of possibility, by the way. So if the mother becomes sort of unreasonable, tell your significant other, like, hey, I'm trying here. Like, I really am trying. And, if there's something very important to you, I don't know what else I should do. What would you like me to do? You know what I mean? Or I don't know how else to go about this. Am I doing something wrong again? I don't know. Or is it that she's just never going to like me? Like you need to have these real talks and then sort of have your significant other kind of deal with the situation. You know what I mean? Have your significant other talk to their mom, try to get that sort of going, because sometimes it's not really you, because it could be anybody. You know what I mean? It's not even just you. It's just the fact that someone is dating her or dating whoever. Sorry. So just dating their child, I should say. So just just have them sort of deal with that. If it becomes, and you feel like you've done everything you can. Do you eventually just stop caring? No, I would say always care. You know what I mean? Even if you feel like you've done everything you can, I would say still care. Show that you genuinely care. You know what I mean? Just be like, I don't know what else to do, but, I really want this to be resolved. Would you break up with your significant other if their mom didn't like you? Absolutely not. I would never do that. If my significant other decided to break up with me because their mom doesn't like me, then I guess that wasn't the person for me to begin with, if they would go by that decision. I believe in autonomy, and I am not going to. I think everyone has the right to make their own choices, and I'm not going to hold somebody else responsible for other people's choices or other people's feelings. So no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't break up with my significant other if their mom didn't like me, and I don't think any one of you should do the same either. Like I said, it's only if it's a persistent issue in which the mother is like literally interfering with your relationship, in which they are trying to literally separate you and cause problems and becomes a nuisance, which is very rare, by the way. And I mean very rare. You only see that like in movies and things like that. So I would say no, there's not really a situation in which, you should break up your significant other just because the mom doesn't like you. What if they really hated you? First of all, I don't think anyone can really hate me. Like, really hate me? What did I do to you for you to really hate me? So I don't know. I don't think you should ever be in that situation to begin with. I can't really fathom that thought. But I do want to say, like, just keep trying. I don't know. I feel like I kind of said it before. But just, yeah, I think I got that. What should you do if their mother is causing problems in a relationship, especially if they don't like you and they want the two of you to break up? That's a conversation that you and significant other should have. how important is the mother's opinion? And once you guys establish that, then you can move forward. How much do your girlfriend's mother's looks affect your impression of how she will look in the future? Okay. So I would say it doesn't affect too much because I honestly believe that people sort of shape, their face kind of turns a little differently or they kind of shape a little differently. It's an indicator, but I wouldn't say it weighs too much. I wouldn't say it weighs too much. And, if you're dating this person, obviously you like them. You know what I mean? Obviously you're okay with their looks. So, if the mother's like, oh my gosh, really, who knows how we're all really going to look when we get older? You get what I'm saying? Is being a mama's boy good and demonstrate strong family caring, or is it seen as overly dependent? I think it depends. It depends how the relationship is. If it's a mama's boy, because your mother is your mother's always checking on you and always trying to make sure everything is good, and you're always there to help and fix things and be there if needed. That's different. But if and that's okay. But if the mom is sort of like, always making you food, always doing this, coming to your house, changing your sheets, doing all that stuff, that's a little too much, and that can be considered overly dependent. How much about your relationship is too much for someone or your mother to know? A lot. Honestly, I'm a huge person in believing that a lot of the majority of relationships should be private. Like 75% of things that go on between you and your partner should remain between you and your partner. I think everyone just needs to know general information. No one needs to really, really know specifics, and that includes the mother. Okay. What about if your mother doesn't like what if your mother doesn't like your significant other? Okay, if my mother doesn't like my significant other, I would personally speak to my mother about it and try to understand where she's coming from and see what the issues is and what the discrepancy is and try to mediate that. What do you do if you think your significant other's mother is just a bad parent and you disagree with them on everything? Everyone does not need to agree on everything, by the way. So I think that's important to know. And just because you view them as a negative parent doesn't necessarily mean that other people do. So if your significant other is actually okay with their parent, then, maybe it's just something that you're looking from a different perspective. Or maybe it might be some sort of cultural difference in which you just don't see eye to eye and completely understand each other's point of view. But, yeah, I don't really know how you would handle that situation. I just think, you voice your opinion and you support it. And you try to get them to understand you or even come down a little bit, like compromise in some senses. But there's not, some people you just won't like, and that includes your significant other's mother. That might be a thing, but you just got to deal with it. If you really, truly are in love or committed to this person, then this is one of the sacrifices that you may have to make. Okay, if you're a single mother, do you feel like you need to hide it until you trust someone? Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I think this is very common, and you know what? I want to say this. I don't think you have to hide it. You know what I mean? I don't think that you have to hide it. Because I think being a mother is something that you should be proud of. And, especially if you're like, especially if you're like a little bit older, that's nothing wrong to shy away from. You know what I mean? That's something that you should embrace, and that's okay. You know what I mean? I know it might be intimidating to some people, but I think for the most part, people are okay with knowing that. Now, I also want to say that if you decide to hide it, I don't necessarily think there's nothing wrong with that either. So if you hide it, like, and this is the only, I say, like, the first date. So if you don't disclose that in the first date, I think that's okay. I think that's okay. I think that's okay if you don't disclose it in the first date because you just want to get to know each other. You know what I mean? You don't want this person to know everything about you. That's something that's very important, granted, but I think that's something that can be saved for the second date if that's what you feel is more appropriate. I think it's all about you, but I don't want to say completely keep your kids in the dark. You shouldn't be dating someone for like almost a year and they don't know you have kids. That is crazy. Let's not do that. And the next one is, if you're dating someone and you find out she is a mother, how do you react? That's a great question. For me personally, I'm just going to say this is me personally. I don't know. I truly do not. I'm not sure if I can take on any responsibility of a child at this moment in my life, because I can barely take care of myself. And I'm just being completely real. But I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. And it's something that you just have to talk about, how, the role of the other parent, how big is the other role of the other parent in that child's life. So, I'm okay. I think as long as someone's upfront, there's nothing that should be wrong. I know I personally have no issues when people are usually upfront with me. It's when you hide it. When you hide it for a long period of time is when there's an issue. So if someone didn't tell me this, that they were a mother for 6 months, and then I find they're a mother, and I'm just like, oh, really? Okay, so that's how it is. You didn't tell me. I wouldn't be upset that they have a child. I'd just be upset that they didn't tell me, and that they, in a way, inadvertently lied to me. It was a lie of omission. And those are not necessarily good for a relationship. So that's how I see that. But that is it, and it's a very, very long episode. I just want to say thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your Mother's Day. Subscribe, like, share, and love. And remember to always start your day off with a hey. Goodbye.